We have some massive acquisition news. And again, I am always thrilled when we have an acquisition that's a real acquisition, not just an acqui-hire in AI. So Atlassian has just purchased the developer of Arc, which is called the browser company, and they have purchased it for $610 million. Now, this is a big deal. I think more and more we're starting to see that people are really starting to pay attention to browsers, because basically these are the portal by which people are going to have distribution to AI agents, right? So we had Perplexity that came out with their comment browser. We have Microsoft Edge, which is incorporating a whole bunch of AI features into the browser to the point where I've never really used Microsoft Edge. And I'm like, okay, there's some really cool things in there that you basically don't get anywhere else that are super useful. I would probably use Edge now for a lot of things. And of course, we have OpenAI saying they're interested in purchasing Google Chrome if a judge forces them to spin that out as their own company for an insane amount of billions of dollars. So there's a lot happening in this story. And I think basically we want to talk about where we believe browsers are going and what we think the tie-in with AI agents is. But before we get into all of that super juicy details on the show today, Connor's actually going to read us a few podcast reviews that people have left on the show. In the last episode, we said, people leaving reviews on the show, we'll read them. Again, we'll be doing this in the future. If you want your review to be read on the show, make sure to go leave us a review over on Apple or wherever you get your podcasts. But kicking this over to you, Conor, what are some of your favorite reviews for the show?
So grateful. Always so grateful for folks that leave reviews. It's one of those things where all we can do is ask. It's why we do this, but it really helps with credibility in terms of getting other guests on and things like that. Again, we do this for free. We don't have a lot of outside sponsorship or anything like that. So just if you appreciate that, I just want to sort of say, and by the way, I always have to sort of check to make sure, Jaeden, that people's usernames aren't something when I read it out loud are going to get me in trouble with. But just sort of saying that, thanks. First of all, I love the name Boss Man, Floss Man. Talks, says like my favorite AI podcast by far. The length is perfect, especially for a busy professional. That's amazing. And then BG Dem is like, this is one of the first AI podcasts I found. I'm still a regular listener. And then what I love about this is this person, I don't know if it's a man or woman, is like, I have a comment about the USA AI action plan. There's a great article here. It's going to be a global evolution. Thanks for sort of bringing this up. But the great thing is, well, hold on, let me just get to one more, because it's like by Jick 11 Wasp, whoever that is. I love them. Tons of great topics, tips, tricks, new innovations, advancements, all in 10 to 15 minutes. And then K Austin 11, thank you. I listen to this regularly. It's absolutely amazing, in all caps. By the way, I should say, you don't have to believe, Jaeden and I don't know these people, although now they're kind of like my best friends here.
Exactly.
But the cool thing is it allows you guys also to sort of give us feedback on not just the podcast, but on the exact stories that we're talking about. And this is really the best way to interact with us. And we love to hear from you guys. Thanks for letting us shout that out. But back to it, I'll just say this with Atlassian, Jaeden, I totally agree. It feels like all the news these days is in browsers and agents and how they are going to tie in together, because I think that we've seen a lot of variance in how good agents are, right? I mean, I got to be honest, like Operator, which is now sunsetted and now it's just, OpenAI's agent, I guess, or ChatGPT agent. I don't know. You've had success with it. I haven't. That's fine, I guess. Perplexity's Comet, I have had more success with. I haven't really had a lot of opportunity to try Claude's computer use, although as I'm understanding, they are going to be putting this into a browser. But it's really the whole point of the browser. And by the way, what's Google going to be doing? Because I'm just waiting for that to drop. And same with Apple. I don't think Apple's going to do anything. But the idea behind this is that we have to start thinking about this as user interfaces and devices. How do we get people using AI more effectively? First of all, Siri turns into something actually really meaningful, right? Where it's like on your device, you'd be using it anyway. And the other thing is, where's everybody's eyeballs all the time? They're on browsers. And if you're only using Chrome or Safari, okay, great. That's totally fine. But there's a lot of other out there. And there's this literal company, which I hadn't heard of, called The Browser Company, who, as Jaeden was saying, is the developer behind the Arc and Dia browsers. And they were just bought for $610 million in cash. And the idea here is that, Atlassian is not in the browser business. I mean, how I knew Atlassian, Jaeden, I don't know how you knew them, but was Trello, which we used to use a lot, which is this visual task management software. Super, super great. Or Jira, actually, also Jira, which people just absolutely love. It's sort of like one of the best in class project tracking softwares. You'll hear about that a lot. But the idea that they're getting into a browser, all that means for me is that they understand that they want to get their agents in front of people. And when you're competing with places like Salesforce SAP. Do you know what I mean? Like really the huge players, you need an in, and that in may be through browsers.
Yep. I actually love that Atlassian goes and does these acquisitions. They also acquired a company called Loom, which is what it's like a
Oh, Loom. Okay. Yeah.
video.
I didn't realize I had that. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of love that they do all these acquisitions. I don't know how they get them all through in the environment where it's hard to do acquisitions, but it seems like things are opening up. I think this is a big deal. Basically, people are understanding that the browsers are the way that we're going to start interfacing with people. There's a quote from the CEO of Atlassian. It's Mike Brooks, and he said, "Today's browsers weren't built for work; they were built for browsing. This deal is a
Mhm.
bold step towards reimagining the browsers for knowledge work in the AI era." A lot of buzzwords in there. He does make a good point, of course, talking his own book about what they're going to revolutionize. But like browsers are just kind of this button you click on to get to Google or to get to ChatGPT. And like you don't think about the browser. It's just literally the piece of software that you have to open up. All of a sudden, this real estate is becoming the most valuable real estate. And there's a couple of reasons. Number one is a software that is downloaded on your computer already. When you want to create agents, you need people. I think you talked about not feeling like you had a lot of success with ChatGPT's agent. I think a big part of that is basically that ChatGPT's agent is built into ChatGPT, which is cool for distribution, but it's not cool in a sense that something like Claude's computer use is something you download on your computer and it is like right there on your computer. In the future, these agents aren't just going to be doing things on virtual private machines like you kind of see in the ChatGPT agent thing right now. They're going to be doing things that interact with your computer. You will download a file to your computer. You'll upload the file from your computer. Maybe you'll search through one of your folders because that's where you stored a bunch of things. If it's downloaded on your computer and if it uses your browser, all of a sudden that means it can have access to your plugins, right? So like your password managers. Now, security
Right.
risks galore, I'm sure everyone's going to be
Right.
talking about. But basically, these things are way more useful if they are on your actual device and not just a website that you go and access to accomplish tasks. And so I think basically anyone that has distribution via these browsers, well, you'll have browsers that are installed on millions of devices. It's a really easy way to get eyeballs on your product. So people are like $600 million, and I guarantee they're not buying this because the browser company has an incredible browser product. I mean, I'm sure the product is great or whatever, but I think they're buying it for the future use of embedding an AI agent and making this thing really useful, making it compete with Google. And I think people have confidence that they're going to be able to do this. I'm curious, why they wouldn't go and do something like Perplexity's Comet, where you just spin out a brand new browser. Probably
Mhm.
because why would you do that when you have starting from scratch, when you can just kind of piggyback on someone that has a browser, they built it. Like, I think actually this is probably a smart idea because something like Perplexity's browser, Comet browser, had to build the browser. So there's a ton of like infrastructure that has to go in, and then they add the AI features on top. And so that's just a really massive project
Mhm.
for Perplexity. Whereas if you just buy this company, we already know what the AI features we want are. Like that's not like a mystery,
Mhm.
right? We basically want this thing to have a bar where you say go do XYZ and it's like clicking
Right.
around and doing stuff. We already know we want it to do. There's a lot of technology that enables that right now. So they can get off the ground running really quickly. They have a ton of money. I think this makes a lot of sense. I wanted to share something that the CEO of the browser company said as this acquisition went through, Josh Miller. He posted over on X. I just thought this was interesting. He said, the browser company just signed our merger agreement. I've written and rewritten this post more times than I'd like to admit. But what I keep coming back to is the work continues and we're grateful for this moment. It's really interesting.
Mhm.
Like when you have these big acquisitions with a lot of users, a lot of people have strong feelings. I think you definitely want to not come across in a way that's like, we just did a huge money grab, got all this
Right.
money,
Right.
like woohoo. Like you want to make it seem like, look, we're going to keep supporting, we're going to make this thing better. So I liked his tone in that. Overall, I think that they're going to get a lot of money and be able to achieve their vision faster. But I guess, Connor, from your perspective, what browsers do you use? Have you ever heard of Dia, the Dia browser, for example? Because this is the one that specifically their CEO calls out that he said, our focus is Dia, right? I know they have two, but Dia apparently is the one they're focusing on. Have you ever heard of this browser? Have you used it? Do you just use Chrome? Like, where are you at on this?
Yeah,
Is this
I
even...
haven't heard of any of these, and I'm thinking like, am I just an idiot? Have I just not heard of these things? I mean, I guess this is the question, Jaeden, right? Which is because I haven't heard from it of it, who's using it? So remember when Andreessen Horowitz just a few days ago, or maybe a week ago, was talking about their top 50 apps, and number 9 or something like that was like janitor, right? And it's like, the heck is janitor, whatever, but like janitor has
Yeah.
like, it's kind of like character AI, right? But just because you're not involved in this world, it does not mean that it's not a huge world. And so when they're spending this much money on it, they're not idiots, so they're doing something. Jane, the other thing I'm wondering about though on this is like, is this also a data grab as well as, a money grab in somewhere or another? I mean, like they're going to be producing their own agents, but browsers collect a tremendous amount of data. And I guess everyone is different on that. But Jaeden, you're the one that sort of, understands the browser landscape maybe better than me, because you're using browsers as well. I'm very boring. I use Chrome because it's integrated into my ecosystem. I use Safari when that's integrated into my ecosystem. And I sometimes use Edge because, I do a lot with Microsoft, and it's interesting to sort of see how Copilot's now built into Edge, and it's a little more seamless. It's a little more, so I feel like that the browser is almost what ecosystem you want to live in. But I'm wondering if these places are paying a lot for the browsers because they know they're going to get a tremendous amount of data. But I know on the other hand, and I know we're sort of like already coming up on the end of this episode, so Jaeden, maybe just a quick answer. You like really prioritize privacy, right, on your browser. So I wonder sort of like how that all fits into this,
Yeah, so I mean, I think at the end of the day, the data play might be an interesting play, right? That's not something I probably thought a lot about, which is when you're training an AI agent to understand how to use a browser. If you already have a huge user base to train the data on, like you get
Right.
it can be a lot better. So something like Perplexity, again with Comet, they're creating not just all the infrastructure for the browser, like kind of this brand new tool. When it comes to actually training the AI to be able to accomplish all the things you want, you're doing a lot of that, I think, the hard way. Whereas you could imagine, and I'm not saying this is what they're going to do, but you could imagine a tool like Dia could basically get them to allow people to opt in to have maybe their browsing thing watched, which of course I know, like trust me. So I know this is what everyone would hate and not want, but maybe you can incentivize people because you already have a big user base. But you could train these models to accomplish tasks a lot better, I think, with data like that. So you're right. I think there could be a big data play in here. Yeah, overall, I think that this is definitely the future. Like AI agents, one way or another, are going to be it. And it feels like all the biggest companies believe, because we even hear that OpenAI is working on a browser, all the biggest companies believe that AI agents will be accessed through a browser. It's going to have to be some sort of software, like you're interfacing with this one way or another. So whether that's Apple, who might believe that just the whole iPhone is basically their browser to access an AI agent to do things on the iPhone, or for everyone else that has a computer, it's gonna, or maybe these will be on your phone as well. But I think browsers are kind of the easiest way to jump in. OpenAI basically is just leveraging the ChatGPT app and ChatGPT website right now to be it. But I think it's gonna be the browser. And again, there's a lot of different browsers. There's a lot of different, I think, angles. I'd be curious to see if Brave, which is the one that I currently use, I've used it for the last, 5 years. Maybe it's privacy, just basically blocks all ads. But I'd be curious if someone tries to acquire them. Like it feels kind of like this, have like these software that it feels like they're kind of like sleeper software. Like they're somewhat useful. They're not insanely profitable. And all of a sudden, because the right stars align, and all of a sudden it's super, super needed, and a ton of money just gets dumped into certain areas. So I think it will be interesting. I think we'll probably see a lot more browsers being bid up and try to be purchased in the future. And one thing I will say as well as we wrap this is just on the comments on the Twitter thread of the CEO, Josh, that's selling this. He kind of has the standard thanks to all the people that supported us post with the sale. But it seems like people's responses are pretty optimistic. They're just like, don't let Dia die. And he's like, no way, we're going to rev it up and go. I think a lot of people are actually pretty happy about it. Basically, if you have a tool that you really like and it gets acquired by someone that doesn't have a really bad reputation, which I feel like Atlassian's kind of this smaller company that, well, not smaller, it's huge, but it doesn't really have much of a reputation. I don't know who the CEO of Atlassian is, except I guess I quoted him at the beginning of the episode, but I don't have any thoughts about him or Atlassian. It just feels like kind of a conglomerate of a bunch of software companies. I feel like somehow if it was Mark Zuckerberg with Meta or Elon Musk with X that was buying this, people would be like, no way, it's it's too controversial. But I think this is a good play. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And excited to follow along with the company. Hey, if you enjoyed the episode today, make sure that you go and check out Conor's AI Mindset course. We will leave that linked in the show notes, but absolutely the best way to upskill yourself and your organization with AI. An amazing value of this course, but I think this is really just a way to make sure that you're on the cutting edge of AI and leveraging it to the most of your ability. So if you're into learning more about AI, that's the number one place I'd recommend you go. Go check it out. It is ai-mindset.ai is his website, but it's also in the description. All right, thanks so much, and we will catch you guys in the next episode.